Hey guys, Shadefire here with episode 1 of Let's Play Jurassic Park Trespasser. Now most of you have likely never heard of Trespasser, and there's a good reason for that. This game was a critical flop at its release, selling only around 50,000 copies. However, there was a lot of hype built up around the game prior to its release, because it was being marketed as the first open-world survival horror game. The project was extremely ambitious, but numerous time and budgetary constraints forced the developers to cut out many of the more interesting features of Trespasser. Even so, the game was still delayed multiple times. What was left at release was a buggy first-person shooter that could barely be run on computers of the time, and it barely resembled what was being marketed prior to that. However, I believe even with all these problems, this game is still an important game for you guys to see, because of the ideas the team tried to carry out, a number of which carried on into further games released afterwards, better budgeted games. So join me, won't you, as I take a look through this forgotten piece of gaming history. And we're gonna jump right in.
The person you're trying to reach is unavailable. Please leave a message after the tone.
Ann, are you there? It's Jill. Pick up the phone. God, don't tell me your mom was serious. You're in Costa Rica? Visiting the natives, huh? Sun, sand, and adventure? My little Indiana Ann, world traveler extraordinaire. Well, give me a call when you get back, okay? By the way, I thought you hated flying.
Auxilio, este es el vuelo CR-17. Hemos perdido poder en un grupo. ¡Estamos cayendo!
And after that, we're just dropped out right here on the beach. This is, of course, level 1, the beach. And, here we are. Here's all that's left of our plane, this tiny little tail that's far too small to actually be a piece of a plane. And you can see our little tutorials at the top. Let's try going for a swim.
It's warm. I don't think I feel like swimming.
Oh, come on now, Anne.
Okay, I really don't feel like swimming.
Way to be a spoil sport.
It's not like I can swim to America.
So as you can see from there, our protagonist Anne here is a chatty Cathy, and we're going to be hearing from her talking to herself quite a bit throughout this game. You can see already that there's quite a bit of view distance, though you're going to be seeing a lot of artifacting because this game does not like to be run on modern computers. Even for the time, though, there are elements of this game that look good and elements of it that look terrible. Running the ATX mod in the background with this, which is basically just a little mod that will allow it to run a little bit better on modern computers and let you run it at higher resolutions. So this area is unofficially called the Foundation, and it's basically just a bunch of junk scattered around for you to play with the game's physics engine. This is one of the first games to feature classical Newtonian physics, though there is one key feature of it that's missing. And we'll be seeing that momentarily. So you can just, shove stuff around, check it with your face. However, Anne's main way of interacting with her environment is the right arm. Yep. You have pretty much full control over Anne's right arm. Originally, the developers wanted to implement both arms, but the number of controls and complications just tied to this one made it far too costly to try to add both of them. So you can just, use your mouse to move around your arm as you will, but you can also rotate the arm using Shift and You can see Anne does not have very resistive joints. You can kind of flip your arm in impossible ways like so. And this allows you to manipulate objects in impossible ways. Now, trying to climb up here, you'll see this board will just continue sliding now that we've touched it. This is because the game completely lacks friction in its physics engine, meaning that all sorts of weird sliding bugs will occur as we go through. It makes it very difficult when the game expects you to stack crates on top of each other and then climb them. Come on now. You might have also noticed that the game lacks a HUD. This was originally because of its survival horror intentions, though taking them out and making it into an action game seems a bit of a strange choice. Instead of a health meter, what we have is this little heart tattoo on Anne's boob. This will fill up with red as you take damage, and because this game is one of the first to use regenerating health, it will drain of red as you avoid other hits. Grab this. And can pretty much grab anything with one hand, even boxes that would be far too heavy to pick up. And you can toss them. Now if we grab this light here, however, and see if I can do this right, pitch it at that box. Nope. Let's try it again. I'm just not doing this great today. We might have to just move on. Try throwing a barrel at it. Donkey Kong style. Nope. Alright, well, we're just going to move on then. There is a little something up there, but it's nothing important. You can also pick things up and flail them around like an idiot. Supposedly this is to make makeshift melee weapons, though, as we'll see quite a bit down the road, that's not a very good idea, pretty much ever. Actually, I'm going to try using this to knock down that box up there. Oh, you might not be able to see it, but we triggered the lack of friction movement, so it's very slowly inching its way off. Where did that board go? Actually, I feel foolish. I could have just done this, if this crate would stop being stuck on something. Grab that, and just kind of shuffle it over there. Hop up here, and then hop up and grab. Oh, damn it, I missed. And you can see the box, because we're standing on it, will start sliding away from us. Alright. Damn, this box is one tough customer. Well, that's enough dicking around with that box. It's a lost cause. There is a gun on top of it, but we'll be finding quite a few up ahead. Now, a lot of this game is spent just walking around, and I'm going to be cutting that out of later levels. But for these early levels, or at least this first level, I'm going to leave it in just to show you what it's normally like. Honestly, this level is really short, so it doesn't matter either way. But later levels have long periods of time where you're just not doing anything at all. And it seems like a waste to watch me shuffle my way forward, since Anne does not have the greatest movement speed. Now, if we can... For some reason, this seesaw does not work the way it's supposed to. If you put that box on it, it'll drop. But if you stand on it, it does nothing. I don't know if this is because Anne doesn't have any actual weight of her own, or what. Doing that, we can get up here, if I'm careful. If I'm not careful, I'll fall to my death. Okay.
The southern beach looked out over a trackless ocean, down past Peru all the way to Antarctica.
Now, some of you might recognize that voice, but if not, well, we'll be meeting him officially shortly.
It is beautiful here. Must be one of the offshore islands. Cocos. One of the Cinco Muertes, maybe.
And just give this gate a good shove. And here we are at the firing range. Now this is kind of the nonsensical pile of guns just sitting here in the middle of the jungle. One of the notable things about this game is that all of the firearms are licensed guns. So instead of going with the Counter-Strike route of taking real guns and just giving them different names, these are all the actual licensed versions of these guns. Now here we got our Desert Eagle. Desert Eagle is one of the most common guns in the game. It's actually pretty useful.
Keep it steady.
We're going to keep that. Instead, we're going to be using
6
these. I don't remember exactly the make and model of these. Ah yes, the Smith & Wesson 686. Now, this gun is actually rarer than the Desert Eagle, but it's not as good, in my opinion. It does less damage and has a smaller clip with only 6 shots. The only advantage is it's more accurate.
5.
And slightly easier to aim. Here,
8 shots.
Desert Eagle, however, carries 8.
7.
And has a better lined up sight. You can see it's already, the iron sight on the end is already tilted up, whereas the
5
686 kind of tilts downwards, so you have to adjust it slightly if you want to actually be able to hit anything.
4. 3.
Now you can also use the arm rotation to control your gun, so you can try to shoot like an idiot
2.
and get lucky if you hit anything. We've also got
8 left.
a Franchi Spas 12 over here. This shotgun's really helpful, but there's not a lot of them in the game. We're going to be hanging on to that.
7 shots.
Now this chair is not a chair at all. It is just pieces of a chair loosely stuck together. Now right here, the developers want you to take one of these rocks and knock down that box so that you can get over. Why you would do this, I don't know. Because as we saw earlier, throwing things in this game to get things to work is very difficult.
7 shots.
A much easier way to do it is to use a gun. And if that don't work, use more gun. Toss our Desert Eagle because otherwise we'll probably drop it, since Anne's arm can be influenced by the environment as well.
Maybe if there's a phone line.
Here, I'll
or
try to
a
demonstrate that.
radio.
So if you get knocked against something, there's a good chance that Anne will just let go of whatever you're holding. Or, as commonly happens as well, it will get stuck in the ground, clip, and then fly 100 feet into the air, and you'll never see it again. Forgot to mention as well that you can carry
8
one
shots.
object on your back or on your side, and one object in your hand,
6 left.
which is why you can't just put away both guns. There's no ammunition in this game.
Engine. Some kind of... Wait. International Genetic Technologies. That was the company from the dinosaur trial. After the trial, that old guy, John Hammond, wrote a book. He said it was somewhere in Central America.
My name is John Parker Hammond. I was born on March 14th, 1928.
Oh no. Oh God. This is Site B. This is John Hammond's Lost World.
So of course that voice we heard earlier was Richard Attenborough retaining his role as John Hammond, founder of InGen. And we'll be hearing from him quite a bit throughout the game because, well, Anne will explain it momentarily. As I was saying, there's no ammunition in this game, so Anne will call out the number of shots in a gun when you
8
pull it out.
shots.
And once those are used up, you basically are just holding a fancy-looking club.
6 left.
However, when they changed this game from a survival horror to a action game, they also dumped a bunch more guns in the environment. So there's not a lot of times where you're going to have to be worrying about your ammunition. Which is good because combat is not a guaranteed win for us, as we'll see later on. So you can definitely see here where they tried to do a pretty open world game with something like Far Cry, which wouldn't come out for a couple years after this. Now, you might notice, a good place to point it out, one of the pieces of tech they used in this game.
Something in the memoir.
A Nobel Prize or a financial empire waits somewhere in a darkened room, in a dirty, derelict building, somewhere in the Pacific.
Now, what Anne means by that is, apparently John Hammond wrote a book, and she read the book, so what we're hearing when he talks is just quotes from that. She doesn't really clarify. But as you can see, those shitty-looking pixel trees in the background, if we get close to those, they'll actually switch with a 3D model. This is a technique that was used in some games like, well, Far Cry and Shadow of the Colossus. However, those games both look a lot better because
5.
they have a much wider distance between you and when it switches, as well as having much more detailed sprites when you're not close. So it wasn't obvious that they were pixels. Just Cause 2 actually does this as well. You won't notice it unless you're in a plane and you drop really suddenly. Now, our sliding here is a problem because we're going to keep sliding off this box. However, if I angle it right and just mash jump, we'll get stuck on the geometry and kind of make our way up. This is definitely a game where jumping can be exploited, like as it is in like Skyrim or something, where you can jump at a seam to get up.
5 shots. Oh man. He really did it.
Brachiosaur, oldest of our recreations by 50 million years. The only true Jurassic native.
Those are some fairly tiny Brachiosaur. Now you might notice that horrible patchwork-looking artifacting going on. I'm not sure why, but that always happens in this level at this part. I think it might be the presence of the Brachiosaur causing everything else to break.
4.
I gotta say that maneuvering Anne's noodly arm in this game is definitely one of the game's challenges, as getting it to do what you actually want to do is difficult. And here you can see this exact same problem we had at the last slope, where the box will slide away from us while we're standing on it, because of the lack of friction keeping it in place. Come on. You can kinda... there we go. You can't really sprint, but
4
if you
shots.
run in a straight line, you'll speed up a little bit. Now, it's pretty smooth sailing so far, but up ahead we'll be encountering some
I knew all along this
trouble.
was a stupid idea. They're probably out drinking right now. Anne? And who?
Got another Desert Eagle here, which we can switch out for our old one because we've been wasting shots on
8
boxes. Where is he? Here he is. Now this fella here is a Tribe A Raptor. We're going to be seeing a lot of those guys for the next couple levels. Up. And he spotted us already. Alright. Now, as long as you can keep away from his mouth, you're mostly safe. Now, if I can just line up a shot... oh, he's almost knocked the gun out of my hand. I'm trying to get a headshot here.
7.
Shit. And he knocked the gun out of my hand.
8 shots.
Alright, so that's enough playing around, I think.
7. So that's what that feels like.
Yes, and that is what dinosaur
7
murder feels
shots.
like. You can also see there's a baseball bat here, but I don't really want to touch it because melee weapons in this game are a terrible idea, as you can probably infer from trying to use it against one of these dinosaurs by flailing it. Another thing you might notice, though it's very subtle, is that this game is one of the first games to use sound randomizer software to make all of the sounds sound slightly different.
The technology, the real trick of it, is still in there. In a darkened room, in an empty building with a dirty floor, it waits. The flashpoint, the origin of Jurassic Park.
8 left.
A forest this wild, this unknown, has not been seen by any human since the great hunters of the early Pliocene.
Just line it up before he starts hopping at us.
7.
Shit. Now, when the game was released, they actually disabled jumping for dinosaurs, because there are areas where it can actually screw them up by getting them stuck and stuff. However, the ATX mod adds it back in. I think it's kind of neat because it makes them harder to shoot.
6, 5, 3.
Now, here, let's see if I can get the sound randomizer to work. You can actually just rub that hand up against them. And you'll notice each time it sounds a little bit different. Now, this is kind of a technology that will take any two materials in the game and combine them in a specific way. So, you know, there's our hand-on dinosaur meat, and there's also hand-on... Well, karate chopping a tree is not going to work.
2 shots.
But the metal against wood, metal against flesh. So it's a neat little thing. However, I think the other game that uses this is Penumbra. Both the first and second ones. Just one of the many neat little technologies they tried to pioneer here, which ultimately cost them. And here we're coming up on the Monorail Station.
A small theropod native to China and Mongolia. Pack hunter, quite vicious and quite intelligent.
The Monorail Station is the end of the level.
This used to be just an urban myth.
This will be a consistent feature throughout the next couple levels as we follow it to get to the town. And it's kind of a neat idea, having a consistent element. Oh, shit. I accidentally unloaded. However, you lose your guns at the end of the level, so...
Welcome to the city of tomorrow.
The shotgun's not going to do us much good now.
6, 5, 3, 2.
Do as any good American would and unload our extra rounds in the sky.
Welcome to Site B, an InGen research facility. For centuries, mankind has wondered about the dinosaurs, the largest land animals ever to have lived. Now, thanks to breakthrough technology...
Unfortunately, there's no way to turn on subtitles for that stuff, but I'll try to shut up for that too, so you don't miss out on any neat little flavor stuff. And before I go, I actually forgot one thing. This little note here. The Atherton Causeway. Named after, I believe, John Atherton, though I might have that wrong. The original geneticist that discovered the amber extraction process they use in Jurassic Park, before being replaced by his assistant Henry Wu, the guy in the movie. Transit from the town of Burroughs to South Beach and Visitors Center. Opens 3/15/1990. Oh, darn. You can see a little red fringe around the heart now. The ATX mod adds slidable difficulties. However, those difficulties simply determine the amount of health enemies have, the amount of damage multipliers on your health, and I believe also reduce the amount of damage you do or something like that. However, these health multipliers mean that fall damage is also increased, so there are certain parts where you're supposed to fall that can actually kill you if you're playing on a higher ATX difficulty. For example, this fall would probably kill you. However, it's not really a concern because this is a loading zone. So, we jump forward into the future. I've been Shadefire, and I will see you next time on episode 2 of Let's Play Jurassic Park Trespasser. Now, normally I'd be putting the Easter eggs for each level at the end of the videos. However, since there aren't any notable Easter eggs in the first level, I'm just going to put the intro video that plays when you start up the game at the end. because it gives you a little bit of backstory on the game.
My name is John Parker Hammond. I was born on March 14th, 1928. What follows is a record of certain events in which I took part between the years 1980 and 1997 on an island I will call Site B. Site B was not to be a theme park, but a research station. This was where we did the real work. By 1989, International Genetic Technologies had succeeded in their design to genetically recreate the dinosaurs. It was an unprecedented accomplishment, the pinnacle of 20th century science, a work to rank with the achievements of Galileo or Einstein. But it was not all so easy or so simple as it appeared. One seldom hears the true history of such events. What happened at the place where the world changed? How it began? What were the reasons? What was the cost?